So we have a whole bunch of different things we can work on. But as always, it's going to start with our pre-glaze. And for folks that were not here yesterday, we tried these out and these were very effective. So cadmium-free scarlet, cadmium-free yellow. Now, I can't tell if the prices are the same, maybe a little bit better. I don't know. It could be a little bit less pricey. These seem to be coming down in price. Now, I don't know if it's because nobody's buying these. We'll see. But this was the fun also from yesterday. So hadn't tried the Williamsburg Van Dyke Brown. It is definitely flatter. It is definitely more opaque, I think, than the Gamlin Van Dyke Brown. But the best part is amorphous carbon produced by charring animal bones. So made of charred animal bones, which is perfect for burning stuff. And we'll probably actually use some of it right here on Eomer and his little horsey, which has a really unusual pattern to it. It's almost got some magentas in there. So Tiny Tusk, I hope that you're doing well. And again, for folks that didn't get to see the construction of that house, now you can always, boy, I'm looking at these two, it definitely has to be flatter. Anyway, you can check out on Thursday again the production of that house. We'll be making a whole bunch more of those. You can be sure of that. We're going to make a ton more of those. Ultimate Olive is back. Oh, you're fine, Ultimate Olive. Oh, actually, now that everybody's here, so colors on the palette. This is sort of the usual opaque alley. It's just these two right here. So the cadmium orange or yellow deep and the cadmium scarlet. Those are those cadmium substitutes. The usual Terra Rosa here, brilliant yellow pale here. That's Indian yellow. So that might be there. That might be its spot, because this is dangerous real estate over here between Pearline Black and Prussian Blue, as we know. Now these are the usuals here. Your Gamlin Van Dyke Brown, Indigo, the Umber, the Black. But this is the Van Dyke Brown from Williamsburg. We also have a Phthalo Green, a Pearline Black, and our Prussian Blue. Just because, well, in case we get to this, it would be fun to have some different blues, right? LCDs, how are you doing? And Valfera. Valfera, just before I went to start this, I was going to just turn the printer on, pour some resin in there, get it going. And of course, the USB decided to be dead. And that's the new one that I made. Now, of course, I have all the files in multiple places, but USB drives, they don't exactly copy data quickly. So I had to sit there and copy all the files, and of course all the files that I copied to it, my vast library of STLs, which obviously are Chitterbox files. I still have them, but they all now have to be transferred to that thing again, which is definitely irritating as we welcome in Gromdi and Inganes. See this Inganes? Yeah, it's not hello Inganes, goodbye Inganes, because we're only 7 minutes in. Yeah, so we'll be here a while. Now again, this is kind of an interesting, different type of a horse color here. Actually, the armor is kind of different on this as well. There might be some coppery stuff on this. So yeah, this could be, there could be some interesting stuff that we're going to do here. Okay. Thanks, Sergey. Sarah, I'm glad that that's kind of helpful for it. I know there's a few folks that object source lighting may not be their favorite thing, but for me, it kind of is. So I'm really glad when people enjoy that, because I just love it so much. It gives everything so much character. Valfera, these are good ones. It's just USB drives just die. I mean, unfortunately, they're all pretty much made in one place, and they're pretty much designed to fail. Now, the ones that you can plug in, like an actual, like a 1 terabyte drive or those kind of things, those are a different story. But those little USB things, they're just designed to, well, die, pretty much. Okay. Okay, Olive. Actually, that's easier to remember and easier for me to say when looking up at the chat, so that is perfection. So Backlog, how are you doing? So Backlog, is this still that same machine being pesky and being very irritating? Oh, by the way, we don't have the asphaltum out here right now. I've got the brown matter. Well, mostly I just don't want to always rely on the asphaltum. I do like the brown matter, and I think over here at Eomer, this is something that could really be useful as well. So, Deuce, how are you doing? Yeah, just like Scooter was saying, though there's definitely no sleep. Yeah, we got no sleep last night. I think it was maybe 6:30 when I actually, well, sort of fell asleep, and then oh, it was not that long afterwards when we were already awake and doing other stuff. So yeah, sleep is not uh, an entity here. It's not for Armored Wolf either. That's for sure. Yeah, Valfera, I just well, of course, what I would really want is a printer that just would be Wi-Fi enabled so that I can just send the stupid files there, or one that I could just attach to the stupid computer. Even if I had to buy a 20-foot USB cord, I'd do that. I don't care. Anything would be better than the stupid USB drive. It just takes forever. Sorry that you were down for the count there, Brush Panda. I hope that you're feeling better now. That seems like it. Seems like you're feeling a little bit better. So actually, we based this, all of these things we based on our different. Well, yeah, what the? Let's use some of our other Van Dyke Brown here, and then we'll maybe get one more going just to let some of this stuff sit on here for a little bit longer, perhaps. I'm gonna go more red on that too. So there's a little bit of our brown matter mixed in with some of our spinel black. Let's see, a raspberry PIW. Well, Fairy, you'll have to send me a link or something to what those are. I've never heard of those before. I have some people set up cameras, streaming their prints to their phone, and have app to manage the print live. Wow, Deuce, that's some serious engineering right there. That's pretty sweet, though. That is some pretty sweet engineering. Well, I can see these guys that are doing it for a living, right? I'm sure they have all kinds of stuff set up like that. Oh, wireless drive has worked. Okay, so yeah, you'll have to kind of fill me in on that because I am ignorant on that, especially since we're engaged in that, that war against technology of all kinds. Let me see. So backlog battles. You have to send me a pic of what you're talking about there. Definitely will have to send me a pic. You know what? That's got some that has a little bit of object source lighting on there. However, I didn't want to throw me a little bit of a nah. We'll just wait. We'll wait on that. I'm so tempted, but we'll wait. We got lots of these guys here. Let's just do this. Mini computer and the 0W is about the size of a credit card. Well, it sounds nifty. Hey Moe, how's it going? How are you doing? And well, happy Sunday, because I think well, it could be Sunday for you as well. Yeah, well, actually, of course, now we don't just have Gandalf anymore. Look who else we got, baby. That's Saruman. Yeah, we have Saruman. And look, I dug this out of one of my boxes. This is a little Palantir thing that I made for him years and years ago. It was a little bit of an objective marker. That's cool, backlog. And thanks, Valfera. Yeah, I apologize for being a little late to the party on these kind of things, but that's there's the technology that we need and the technology we use, and anything beyond that is a mystery, right? That's Backlog Battles posted what he's been working on, so folks, please go check that out and give Backlog Battles all kinds of positive feedback. It's the Ultimate Olive, if I can. Where's my dwarves here? Ah, So these were some of the ones that I was thinking of doing that on. And maybe we might even be able to do that on our Orky over there. Well, we're 14 minutes in, and these things usually last somewhere between 8.5 to 11 hours. So there might be a whole bunch of stuff that ends up out on the table. Ah, I can see some of the reddish color here. That's some of that brown matter. Here, let's grab some of our smaller sponges so we can really get in here and wipe some of this away. Let me see. So I'll send you a link to the Reddit thread where they said how to make this thing. Then I think we're all caught up. If I missed anything, let me know. So Armored Wolf has been really busy making spectacular, well, not just the spectacular dice bags and everything else, but all those basing products. And Armored Wolf just showed me some more pictures today. And I don't know, Beckley, if you saw the episode here. So this is the new Armored Wolf crushed glass snow here, which is definitely a fantastic, I mean, it is really great. I really love the new Armored Wolf snow. Of course, as we drop that, let's hopefully not drop that. So Grundy, actually, I would probably just have to send you a link to it or something like that. It's they are latex free. Oh, I can actually maybe get to the package here. That's the only name that I could get you right there. And it's a latex free foam, 100 count in the bag. Actually, ironically enough, I have to get more too because, well, we might have been using a few of them lately. So hopefully that that is useful info. Let's get this guy too. Now use some of the smaller ones again here. So it doesn't take long to establish quite the little value pattern, doesn't it? Does not take terribly long. And when you compare it to what we had starting out, I mean, which is basically the same as what we had here, very different, right? And that's what you call a pre-glaze or what is that stuff? A zenithal that you can use, right? It's not that dead zenithal like, oh, look, I primed it. Well, yeah, now I'm going to paint over the whole darn thing. Well, here, we're going to be painting with this instead of wiping it out. Yeah, Brush Panda, boy, I just wish I knew about those sooner because I was using these guys for the longest time. You see how crumbly they are? They're softer, sort of nice. Those other ones, I didn't intend to get these. I thought I was getting these, but I got these instead. That's what showed up. And then I realized, yeah, all this does is get all crumbly and nasty. So these, and I don't know if it's the latex free part of it that's the big deal. I don't know. All I do know is that is just so much nicer. Here, let's see if we can get some dry brushy things happening here again. I think we're caught up here. Maybe not that light of a color there. There. Again, look at that. It's already mixing. Already starting to mix with our indigo that's here, which means then I can bring it up there. It really does help with that whole, if a color goes somewhere, it must go everywhere. No doubt about that. And let's just start bringing some of that in here on his armor. Look at, boy, it didn't take long for the pre-glaze to become part of that. Alcides, yeah, you can, if you check out the past episodes, also there's the YouTube channel. Even with acrylics, I still do something that is kind of like that with the makeup sponges. So while we do maybe a little bit more of that, obviously with the oils, just because it stays wet longer, it's not something that is just an oil thing only. We still do some of that for acrylics too. Hey, Queez, how are you doing? Nice to see you again. And Queez, obviously the new additions, they are enjoying their new home and all of their new friends, of course. And hopefully you're having yourself a really good Saturday. Ah, this is actually that's interesting. That is not the color I expected that to be. So why don't we do a look at a little bit of Indian yellow mixed in. And I saw this and I said, oh wow, that's actually a little different color than what I thought it was. But a little Indian yellow, give that a tint. Yeah, Brush Panda, it's super high tech, right? It is the ultimate in technology. Doesn't get any more high tech, right, than parchment paper. Now this is the part that's tricky. You can't just find this anywhere. You can't just find these anywhere. Nope. You don't get that just any place, except if you just order incessant stuff. Now, of course, here is this is an even more high-tech tool right here. This is what we use to get the texture on the stone. So as you know, we only believe in super high-tech tools,
hobbits,
right?
spark my ganja.
Thank you so much, Patik, for that follow. I appreciate that. Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja. It's like, uh-oh, I think my ganja's been sparked. He didn't notice he was on fire. So yeah, all of the texture on here, that was created with this. And if you want to, like I said, you want to check out how all that was done, you just have to check out the Thursday session. So, Patik, how are you doing? Thank you so much for joining us here. And well, you're pretty much on time. We're only 21 minutes in. We are just getting underway, and it's going to be a long way to the end. We are going to be at this for quite a while. Quite a while for sure. Yeah, Brush Panda. Now, of course, there's other elements here that are very advanced. You know, the water bottle caps, the milk jug caps, you know, the blister packs here, the insulation foam. I mean, I don't know. We even use, you know, Pringles lids and stuff. This is, oh, and of course, well, you know, paper clips, super advanced stuff right here, baby. Yeah, so Valfira, we definitely, I want to get to this one right here because actually I haven't painted one of these in oils and I really want to try that. But it would be fun to get to this guy. And of course he does, oh look, he has some object source lighting. So it'd be fun to get to this Titan Forged one here. Yeah, Brush Panda, I know that, you know, again, it kind of gets a little bit expensive. It's hard to keep up, right? It's hard to keep up with the expensive equipment that we're using here. But sacrifices must be made, right? Sacrifices must be made. So look at how it's picking up. It's still picking up all that pre-glaze, which is absolutely hilarious. Now, I'll grab me a different one here. And we're going to try and get a color that's got a little bit more, almost like a purplish red to it here. And that's going to be a smidge of our Egyptian violet here. And this is about tinting it just a little bit. Yep, purple horse there. Nope, Valfera actually, if it were up to me, I'd be painting cavalry every single time. But obviously, well, we need those stables, right? We got to have stables for those Rohan horsies. So we're going to maybe stick more with the Van Dyke Brown. Oh, he does have a little bit of a lighter color on his... All right. I just want to see what this can do. We used it on the building yesterday, which was great, but we were painting on pink foam, so you never quite know. I swear that this is definitely, it has to be more opaque and definitely flatter. I'm gonna step on over to a little bit of the brown matter over here on the spear, just cause. Piece of energy, how are you doing? So folks, be sure to give a piece of energy a follow. So a piece of energy. How did the paint session go last night? Did you? I guess the question is, did you finish off the wings? Because I know that was your big thing you were looking to get done. Terra Rosa time. Get into some Terra Rosa here. So folks, definitely give piece of energy a follow. Yeah, it was that was really nifty. Because I don't think we had a chance to raid you before. I don't think so. Yeah, usually you're raiding us, and we never get a chance to raid you. So that was really kind of cool that we could do that, and that was very fun, and it was really liking the wings that you had going on there. Hey, Angry Ham, how are you doing? Yeah, okay. Because well, timing is always you never quite know. Even me, sometimes I have to just kind of stop at unusual times or whatever, or different times. There's a lot of this red leather here going around, so we're gonna have to, I think, do some more of that for sure. Okay, we'll just leave you like that. Now we have to start getting some of our liner colors here in on the horsey's head, maybe. See what we have here for some of our. So there's my zeros. That's what I'm looking for. Planned to paint today, but ended up talking with people and say this, so might be slightly socially starved. Well, Angry Ham, I hope that you actually had some fun getting to chat with people. I'm trying to think the last time I actually had a chance to talk to somebody. When the heck was that? I don't know. I'd have to really think about that. I think it's been weeks since I was. Yeah, it's been weeks. Oh, so this is definitely an unusual horsey right here. So I thought, you know what? Let's just see if we can't get Eomer's horsey here with the unusual markings. Okay, now I see some of the purple starting to show up. That's good. Let that kind of blend a little bit there. Do one more technical note. Clear resins for printing. Nah, Brush Panda, I just have, well, I guess the Soraya Smoky Black is partially translucent, but those translucent ones, now other folks in the chat here, they might have used that, so they could actually maybe give you some advice on that. I don't have any settings for it, and it doesn't really, there's not much need right now that I would have for something like that. Maybe in the future that could be something for building pieces or whatever, like windows or something. So we never say never, but right now that is not something that I've used yet. Hey Ryan, how are you doing? I guess Ryan, it depends on which indigo that you got, maybe, because the Winsor Newton indigo is just fine with thinner. Yeah, it's never had a problem with the thinner, so it could be. I'm not sure if you have the Winsor Newton one, or it could depend on what kind of thinner you're using too. Obviously, we're always using the uh, Mona Lisa brand thinner. So there's a couple of wild cards in there, right? Peace Energy is going to try and kick out about a dozen Stormcast tonight and tomorrow. Well, Peace Energy, I guess, now they're not affected by, what is it, the new Age of Sigmar that's coming out, or version 2, or whatever they announced this weekend. So hopefully they won't be, I guess, negatively impacted by that. Nessie, how are you doing? Sorry if I missed you, Nessie. Oh, Where is? Oh, there you are. Yeah, Nessie, we've got ourselves an Eomer. We also have, well, we have a couple of our cavalry here. We still have some more of our, well, we have a ton more of our Dunlendings to do. We also do have a couple of our dwarves. I like to play around with these two. Let's see. Patika, pieces. So Patik, that the actual videos, those are on the Patreon page, but it wasn't about the process because the process is simple. You just take the paint. Now I just use blister packs because I have tons of these things. I just squeeze it in here and I start adding thinner and I keep mixing it until it's the consistency, roughly, of just regular acrylic miniature paint. So it doesn't have to be, you don't want it to be super thin and watery. You just want it to be about this consistency. Every single paint color is different. There is no formula. There's no anything like that. You just kind of have to put it in there and mix it and just observe. And that's just like Armored Wolf was saying, it's a high quality thinner. That is what you want. Now, this is what I can easily get here in the U.S. for folks that are overseas. The MIG ammo odorless thinner is about the same. To me, I think the Mona Lisa is actually even a more gentle thinner, but it's what you can get, right? Oh, no problem, Petit. Yeah, there's also too, as you get started with them, this is also some of the videos that I do for the channel here. You want to take things like some of your colors and then mix them with other colors that you're going to use very often. So here we have Burnt Sienna, Terra Rosa, Raw Umber, and this really gives me an idea of how the different colors are going to act. So you might want to do something like this before even you start painting the miniatures, is just mix some of the colors. See what happens. Just kind of give yourself a little bit of a ballpark idea. That way you kind of know what to expect a little bit instead of just like, I don't know what's going to happen here. And that way it's a piece of paper, right? You don't feel bad about mixing stuff on a piece of paper. And there's a link to it. Yeah, Nessie, right? Wouldn't you say that even if it's two different brands of the same thing, it could be very different? Which, now, of course, I haven't done a thing for this, but I still can't. Charred animal bones. Now, I'm going to just do something here. I'm going to play with something here real quick and just see. So I think that's still, okay, that's still wet there, but I think it's tackier. Now, of course, that's a more absorbent surface, but remember my question was last night, is that stuff going to dry faster than the typical cadmium colors? Is that going to be a secret benefit that we might have, that it could actually potentially dry a bit faster? Let's see. Olive, it's like we say, right? Big acrylic is always trying to spoil our fun. They don't want us doing things so easy like this, right? But boy, it really does help get, well, obviously to get these things out on the table and such, but not just using up a ton of energy, right? Let me see, I'm gonna go over here. All right, so they did more of a green shield on that. Okay, I'm just looking around here, seeing what we have for our different references and such. Here, let's maybe find ourselves an even smaller one here for our horsey. Maybe we use a smidge of our yellow in there. You're in the U and you have a lot of options. Yeah, because where's our, here it is. Yeah, so this is what I started with. Actually, believe it or not, I actually started with this. Obviously, the Mona Lisa was easier for me to get here in the US because that's where it's made, I believe. So if you're wondering why the one over the other, it's just one was easier to get than the other one. So yeah, no particular reason there. Although, like I said, I do kind of like the Mona Lisa a little bit better. Actually, Nessie, wasn't it something like 33 or 34 states? I know that, well, actually, Nessie, I think after this, we're gonna, they probably added a few more states because this was too easy, right? This was too easy to do with the oil, so I think we might be up to 35 states now after last night. Hey, Rathu, how are you doing? Nice to see you again. I assume that you're all still super busy renaming everything in Norway, Arathu. So there's the Arathu Bridge, there's the Arathu Sports Complex, probably the Arathu National Health Center by now. Again, something that is so darn easy. And one of the reasons I'm hyper aware of how easy the oils are compared to the acrylics is the last week or so, I've had to paint a bunch of things in acrylics, and it's always just easier with the oils. Even this, painted this in acrylics, would have much rather have painted that in the oils. Rathu is tired because work is life. Rathu has joined Armored Wolf and I in the Work is Life cult. Yeah, you thought this was just an oil painting cult. No, it's not. This is a work cult dedicated strictly to working. No days off, no sleeping, no rest, none of that kind of stuff. Let's see, with the Rembrandt oils, not Rem. Actually, I don't. I still haven't actually looked to see if. Well, I was looking for Van Goghs, and weren't you saying that the Van Gogh is basically the student version from Rembrandt? So maybe Dick Blick does have those. I'll have to look for Rembrandt instead of for Van Gogh. Now, of course, I've used the Rembrandt pastels. You've heard me say that. Actually, this horsey's got quite a bit of fur texture on him. So this is going to be interesting. Hey, Drax, how are you doing? Let's see. The plan is spending way too much money on acrylics. Yeah, well, Olive, it kind of was based on the early reactions to. It was very much like, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. And we just kind of had to disprove all of those myths one by one. I was wondering, so Drax, you're feeling better then? So what would you say, Drax? It was about 2 days of really rough reactions to it then? Now, of course, Olive, I think you've seen me recommend for your first one something that's got big surfaces. I mean, not everything has a giant cloak like this, but something with big open surfaces and maybe just a couple of colors. Maybe one that's really light, one that's really dark. Let's see, Arathu is sleeping more because I was watching Twitch and stuff, but yeah, now Arathu is joining the less sleep deprived ranks. Or is it sleep depraved? I always called it sleep depraved. Actually, Patik, there's a few folks that have used those. Was it the Masterclass Petersburg? There's a couple of folks in the chat here that have used those, and I think they were all right with them. I don't think they had any complaints about those. But look at how that is mixing on this brush here. So I'm just basically doing some stippling because there's all this fur texture here. If you're wondering why I'm doing this, literally just poking the brush at it, it's just all of this fur texture here. And this is the Van Dyke Brown from Williamsburg, by the way. Well, Ultimate Olive, we say it all the time here. Oils make everything easier, and it does make object source lighting easier. Now, of course, you could watch some of my acrylic object source lighting videos and then watch the oil painted ones to see how there's maybe a little bit of difference. Now, of course, there's this thing on YouTube. This is the acrylic version, and I just put the oil painting version up. It's actually the current video, so you could watch this one and that would sort of give you a comparison of both. Now, Ultimate Olive, we have, well, we have a couple here that are going to have object source lighting. If we get to this one here, the thing that changes a little bit in our pre-glaze is that this is kind of a multi-phase, whereas this was kind of one pre-glaze, which you saw. Yeah, when we have the object source lighting, there's a little kind of almost like an extra step that goes in there. Okay, Ultimate. Oh, that's good. So yeah, I don't. Maybe check out the original acrylic one, and then you could really see the difference between the two. Here, let's the big thing with the oils is no layers, right? We're not. You can see we didn't layer anything here. We just blasted in here with this lighter white color. There was no gentle layering or anything like that. We just went boom. We went strong in here. I think we're all caught up. So Drac, yeah, that I was getting a little concerned for you there. It did not sound like you were having a whole bunch of fun whatsoever. All right, I'm actually going to throw a little bit of cadmium in here as much as we love our. No, we're going to get a little more Indian yellow in there just for the heck of it. So there you. Okay, I knew we had a couple of folks that were using those, and thank you so much, Sergey, for uh, providing a little bit of in-depth reporting on those. That is much appreciated. Okay. I thought so. Rohan armor is kind of wild in that it has the inlays, right? So we are gonna have to get in here with some little bit of a pin line wash on some of these armor bits, and then let that just kind of sit there. Oh, what the heck? We have this color already going. Let's just do some of that here. So we're gonna take some of the Indian yellow, some brilliant yellow pale, and we're really going to let that be as liquid as we can make it. And it's got to go down into all these crevices here, which is so much easier to do with the oils than it is with the acrylics. Oh my gosh. So actually that is not gold. That is, what am I just going to do it gold? What the heck? It's, maybe it's supposed to be silver, but I'm just going to go with this, at least for right now. It could all change. That never happens. Let's see. So Ultimate Olive, or sorry, Olive, mostly I try to plan for it to be dry, but there's a lot of different ways that you can still blend with oils. Now, all of these were the same way. So this one here, 1,000 Suns, all of our army painting series, well, they take a week, 2 weeks, maybe 2.5 weeks to film, so the stuff dries, which is good because, like in this case here, things like the interference paints actually like to be used over dry oil paints or just dry paints in general. So that's a positive thing there. Sometimes if you're going to do, well, like the freehand like this, sometimes it's easier to do that over dried paint. Like say the shoulder pads here, you could do some glazing on this. So right here, you see this shoulder pad? Let's say I wanted to make the blue a little bit darker. I could just take some indigo, some Prussian blue, and, or not even a glaze. I could literally just plop that paint on there and take the blending brush. Now, I think you've heard me talk about the blending brush, and then I could just buff that away, right? So I could make that darker. It's not going to wet blend, but it still blends. That's the difference between, say, oils and acrylics. That's why you can kind of go back in with the oils even when things are dry and still do some really fun stuff. So I don't know, maybe we'll have to change that away from gold, but I'm just going to leave it gold for right now, just because. Why not? All right, let's get some Terra Rosa in his face. So Ratonka, there's nothing fancy about the interference paints. It's literally just an oil paint, but it has interference powders in it. Because now I can just make my own literally with linseed oil and interference powder. But this is a little more convenient, obviously, because the powder gets all over the place. You have to get linseed oil. So it's oil paint that has interference powders in it. And you can, well, actually, there's stuff on the YouTube channel as well. But I don't know if Ratak, if you ever saw these. But this was one of our sessions where we did all these. Well, actually, it was 3 different sessions, and that was true metallic metals. We used all interference paints there, mixing them obviously with the regular oil paints too. And actually on our Keenite Shadow Stalkers, we did the same thing there, wherever those guys went. So even on these, we used a little bit of our interference colors too. So here, let's get back up to our Eomer here. Actually, Agent Dex, this is very clean right here, and that's actually not a wet palette. That is just literally a piece of parchment paper stuck to a piece of cardboard. And now, of course, I don't have any of the other palettes from previous sessions laying around here. But yeah, this will be a disaster area in just a couple of hours. So yeah, there will be, it will not be clean. It will be nice and disastrous. Yep, and here's our, just a glue stick, because what that does is it lets you just peel it off when you are done, which is very handy. All right, so now let's see, do we want to continue with well, we'll just leave that there. If we want to make the change, we can just go ahead and make that change later. But right now, I do want to get a little bit of some Terra Rosa on his face here. And we're letting that mix with what's already there. That's going to give him almost a little bit of a 5 o'clock shadow for free. See how that's kind of turning gray right there? No layers with the oils. You gotta let things mix together. Let them do their thing. We'll do the same out here too. And you can see how we're not layering anything there. Let's grab something for a blending brush here. So we just literally slap some paint down there. And now we're going to move that around with this blending brush. It sure does make stuff like this easier to get through, because normally painting these is just quite the pain getting through these guys. Hey, Captain Caveman, thank you so much for that sub. That is oh, of course, I was used to the camera over the last couple days being far away. Thank you very much. So Olive, it's not the only way, because you can use things like Gamlin silver here, or you can even use things like the MIG Ammo oil brushers right there. The interference paints or colors, they are the most efficient way, definitely by far. That's just what I noticed. Those are the most efficient way to get something like that done. Let's see. Wow, that sounds good, Brush Panda. Well, let us know how that comes out, and you have a good one. And well, we'll see ya. We'll see you later. Pun expected. How are you doing? Well, everybody, please, if you're not already following Pun Expected, give Pun Expected a follow, because, well, Pun Expected loves his oil paints too and does lots of fun experiments. Let me see. I'm just looking at one thing that the oils is it needs a very light touch. Like Angry Ham was saying, in the Book of Wapple, it says less is more and more is way too much. That is typically about how much paint we're using. When I see people painting with oils, sometimes it's like they're painting with a fire hose or with a steam shovel, and they're just piling paint down there, because that's what you do with acrylics, right? But this is oils, and this is more like the amount of paint that we're putting on there. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea. Also, thinner paint will stick to thicker paint. and vice versa. Now, of course, if all your layers are dry, that doesn't matter. But if you're painting wet oils over wet oils, like we're doing here, you're going to have to be aware of that. You're also going to have to be a little bit more direct with your brush strokes. You're going to have to basically paint it and leave it, or you just plop that paint down there and then you push it around. But you see we're coming back over here to get more paint again, because every time the brush touches the surface over here, it's picking up the paint that's already there. So that's how people end up with mud quite frequently, is that instead of 1 or 2 brush strokes and then getting some new paint, they just keep painting and painting and painting as if they were working with acrylics. And all that color is mixing on their brush. They're just not aware of it, I guess. And the next thing you know, they've got themselves mud. Again, see a couple of brush strokes, got to go back. You can't just keep hammering away at it. You have to just a couple of brush strokes, come back, get some fresh paint, and then come back to it. You can't just keep blasting away at it over and over. You're also going to get too much paint on there too. But the ultimate, all of it, you just have to, as long as you're just aware of that, and just say, well, okay, like now here, again, instead of layering things, I'm counting on that to blend with what's there. But I'm not going to keep going. I'm going to go back over here, get a little bit of new paint there. Bring that over here onto this side. And even this can be used as a blending brush if I get rid of the paint that's on there. So I'm going to take the paint I just put on, and I'm basically taking it and I'm pulling it down the side of his face here. Now we're going to try and get a little bit of a greenish tone here. And that's going to take the form of some of our perline black. Maybe a bit even more of a green here. That's better. Almost like a greenish gray. That's more like it. There we go. Yep, that's what I wanted to see. What do you do when you get a color somewhere? Well, that's why we say there are no mistakes in oil painting. There's just makeup sponges. So let's say we don't like that yellow in there. Well, we're just going to take a makeup sponge and we're just going to get rid of that. Like so. So there's yep, there's no mistakes in oil. There's just makeup sponges. Actually, Nessie knows I use it for everything. Actually, I don't really use it for pin lines or that side of stuff very often. I actually use it for mixing actual, just regular old colors, because I really basically think of it like indigo, right? How I would do metals with indigo, or I would do, some kind of a dark blue cloak with indigo. So yeah, the perline black just gets used like it's almost think of it, instead of me taking phthalo green and black together, it would just, that's what the perline black kind of substitutes for now. You know how much I love things that do, two things at once, right? So yep, that is I forget which video it was. What was it? It was a bust of some kind. I think it was a Big Child Creatives bust, and we wiped out the freehand twice. The first time I said, well, that's the right pattern, but the size is all wrong. We did it again. I said, well, it's closer, but it's not close enough. So we wiped it out again. So we actually painted the freehand on there 3 times, and we just wiped it out with a makeup sponge each time. And that's the nice thing about the oils, right? We could completely change this. And we're gonna come in with some indigo blue, I think, is what we'll bring in there. So indigo, we'll just mix it with the white here. And we got to make sure that's a bit of a glazy type of a situation here, so that it just sinks down in here. Yeah, I'm gonna go with this. More of a bluish tone here. Mostly because it's just not gonna stand out from the hair if it's also gold. So see, we just made a change right there. Look at all this stuff just got changed. No fuss, no muss. Not a big deal. The pundit product has been staining wood bases with transparent oils. Yes, I can definitely see that being really nifty. Look at this, even right here over that yellow. Right over the yellow there. So you can make all these changes. Again, it's not a big deal. Now here's another case that we're just going to take the perline black and we'll just take some yellow here. And oh look, we have green. We have green. So pretty much, yeah, the perline black is I don't want to say it's taken over for phthalo green, but instead of me taking phthalo green and mixing it with indigo or with the black spinel or something like that, I just I let that thing go with yeah, like this, just because the phthalo green would make it really intense. This gives me a green, but without it being quite as intense as what phthalo green would be. So, oh, actually, let's do this too. You know, there was another place I was thinking I could use this. So just another little use for our perline black, right? So Angry Ham has been having some chats with other artists on the dough ink drawings, and they're getting curious about the oils. So Frozen Toes, how are you doing? Good afternoon. I hope that I hope you got yourself some decent amount of sleep last night. So again, we're not gonna do any. Oh, actually, I can get my camera settings a little lighter here because we are not doing pre-glaze anymore. So, poof, there we go. I think we are caught up. Yes, I think we're caught up now. So yeah, and that's the perline black is it's kind of done a Prussian blue. It did to phthalo green what Prussian blue did to phthalo blue, didn't it? That's why this is dangerous real estate over here. Now you see why you've got the Indian yellow up here, because this is pretty much the Danzig corridor right here between these two colors. That is not a place you want to be hanging out right there. That's a dangerous zone. You don't want to be there. That's for sure. Well, not if you want a continued existence. You don't want to be set up there. So Frozen Toes has been doing the errands thing. Those are never fun. Here, let's bring in some dark here. That's a little bit of our indigo on the underside of that spear right there. And now we'll bring back a little bit of our white there again on the end of our spear point. Also, we've got to get that upper line too. And I think, yeah, that's also, yeah, that is all part of a metal spear point there. So, another change that needs to be made. Yeah, not a big deal. We can do that easily enough. Blending brush time here. Each time I do that, though, I have to remember to get the paint off of there. Otherwise, well, it's going to be a little bit too much of a blending brush. And here I can soften up some of that fur texture that we had going, right? How's about some Terra Rosa, maybe a smidge of our, and this is our new cadmium scarlet here. I'm really curious what the drying time on this is going to be. I wanted to get some of it on this as well, or trying on some of these other ones, so that we have an idea that, okay, this is not absorbent. This plastic right here, not an absorbent surface whatsoever. And this will give me a little better idea of, okay, does it actually dry faster than your typical cadmium? Or is it just an artifact of, well, everything dries faster when you've got it on balsa wood and pink foam? And I think we'll get a little bit of our reddish leather working on there. Not a radish. I think we'll even use it here too. Why not? Hooty hoot. Welcome. And I hope that you've had a good Saturday. With that, we'll just throw a little bit of that on the inside there. Some of you along this end. And I think now I can start thinking about putting some of this over the top of our inlays. Yeah. So he's going to start to look a little bit different here. And Oliver Ghost is here too. Oliver, nice to see you. Hope you've been having yourself a nice weekend so far. And obviously we'll be coming back in here to lighten up some of the blue as well. I just want to, I need to start seeing this basically red leather next to it to start making judgments. Okay, how do I really need to make that, the blue back there, any lighter? Or does it have to be darker? We'll see which way we need to go. But Terra Rosa and the cadmium scarlet, essentially a lot of the same stuff that we tend to use for rust. Here's the other gauntlet here. And all this stuff, we'll just kind of give it this somewhat Terra Rosa look here, at least to start with, and go from there. Now, all the while, letting things mix. That's what it's all about. Mixing with the pre-glaze, mixing with other stuff. I remember, oh yeah, sculpting the Rohan armor when we were doing our Royal Guard. That was pretty wild, having to do all this inlay stuff. I painted Malifaux stuff a long time ago. Long enough that there were no plastics. There were no plastic Malifaux figures last time I painted those. And I think that was actually for Malifaux themselves. But I haven't painted any since. I'm trying to think, well, those were commission figures, and, well, since I don't play it, the only way I'd paint those is if they were commission things, and I think that was it. That was like summer of, oof, way long ago. Had to be years ago. The Albergos had a barbecue with friends. Well, that's always fun, having the barbecue there. And hopefully you had all kinds of good meats and everything. Lots and lots of meats for that barbecue. Because, you know, barbecue, meats is... I mean, there's other good things too that you can have in a barbecue besides just the meatses, but... Alright, we're going to go back over here. We're going to start doing some darker stuff. We got this Van Dyke Brown here. And we're just going to do a little bit of a pin line here. Let that just be darker. bring in a couple darks, and then we can swing back around the other way. We got ourselves a V. V, how are you doing? So folks, be sure to give Vlager Dragon a follow, because Vlager Dragon, very talented musician, and she does some music streams at times. Well, she also now is painting miniatures, and she will be doing a basing stream soon, I believe, with a certain other person. So V, I hope that you've had yourself a really good day so far, and a good weekend too, for that matter. And now, are you guys gonna still be doing the Monster of the Week on Sunday? Because I know, was it, I think last Sunday you had to, that was got canceled there. So hopefully you guys will be able to continue, and maybe people get to see Dark V once again, because you can't see Dark V if there's no Monster of the Week. Yeah, the May 16th basing tutorial. So yeah, hopefully the box doesn't take too long to get there. I mean, it really shouldn't, right? It really shouldn't, but I've had boxes sent from basically Minneapolis. It's like, wait a minute, how come this took 5 days to get here? And that was before all the fun stuff began. So hopefully it arrives soon. And hopefully you guys have lots of fun on your basing session. All right, so there will be Harlan's Heroes tomorrow night. Well, that's good to know. That's good to know, because I was, what was it last? Oh, yeah, that's right, last Sunday. All of a sudden, Kathy came walking in. I said, "Well, are you gonna watch Pyro Club in the other room?" And she said, "No, it's canceled tonight." Yes, and you'll have is it Little Lou, I do believe, is what that is called. Drop some in here. And actually, I wonder if Arathu is still in, or if Arathu has already gone to sleep, because Arathu is just so busy renaming stuff after himself all across Norway there. I think he's already fallen off asleep. More of our Darkia there. So I think we've, yeah. Oh, here too. Here too. This is the brand new, again, the Williamsburg Van Dyke Brown, which is made from charred animal bones. So we're painting our horse with charred animal bones, which is sweet. I absolutely love that. I mean, of course, using it on our charred Rohan building last night was super fun, and it worked very well. So yeah, this was a blast getting to paint our Rohan building there. Yeah, built that on our Thursday stream, and then painted up on our Friday stream. And now for our Saturday stream, we've got a whole bunch of figures sitting around here, all waiting to get some paint. Seriously, there's a lot of figures here waiting to get paint. Alex, piece of energy. Yeah, it can be a little bit confusing sometimes with Rohan armor, because of the inlays and all the other weird stuff that goes on with them. It can be a little bit unusual to paint. Did they also? I think even these guys. Well, these were our converted Royal Guard here. Yeah, I think these were, well, they were a little bit more basic. They had mostly the scale mail, but I know we sculpted. Yeah, we definitely sculpted those on there. We sculpted these two. Yeah, we sculpted those, and of course we gave them their new robes and such, and their new helmets. But all of the characters, they all have the crazy inlaid armor like this, which is why we're trying to do a little bit of a pin line here. We're just going to get some more liquid into that. And that's why I needed to see at least some of the Terra Rosa there in place to know, well, how light does that have to be noticeable? So I know V, you and Jared did the co-music stream there. And I know you were thinking of doing another one. I wasn't sure if the schedules have aligned for you guys to do another one of those, because I know you guys had a blast doing that. Here, let's throw in a couple more light. I do know that I want that to be a little lighter there. Same thing here, up there, and even in here. However, we're going to have to do that more of a glazy way. Remember, this was all gold up here a second ago. Wasn't all that long. All of this stuff was gold. And then we said, nah, that just ain't right. And we changed it because, we can do that. It's all good. I've been composing a song. V, that's going to be fantastic. So is there going to be a special unveiling show? The first time premiere for that song? I'm guessing when you guys do your next multi-stream, you'll be premiering the new song. One of the greatest hits on Twitch. Yeah, so that should be really cool. I hope that that's going really well. I don't know if the Cheer 10X is one of the verses in it. An ode to Big Jim Slade there. So as you can see, some of the existing cohort, well, guess what? That's mixing with this as we put it on here, which is good because we don't want this to all just be straight up, well, white. We're letting, look at that. You can see there's a whole bunch of little different cohort transitions that are happening there because we want that to get a little bit of mixing happening. So more of our cadmium yellow into our perline black, aka super dark green. So this is where I would normally have taken, I don't either. Well, we don't want to say that we're not using Prussian green anymore. We don't want to say that because that's all that's going to do is upset the Prussians, and then we're going to have all kinds of trouble and chaos on the palette there. Let's see. So Petit, I can't click on it myself. What did you find there? If you could just fill me in on what you found. I'll have to record it and have the Shadowrun group hear it. Okay. Well, that makes sense. That makes sense. I could see that. I could definitely see it saved for the Shadowrun group first.
Hello, little hobbit. Spark my ganja.
Hello, little hobbit. Who is our new little hobbit? It's Venomoth. Venmonoth. Venmonoth. Hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja. It's like, dude, man. What's with the dwarf and the elf and the human? Where the heck were you? Where were you when the Westfold fell? It's like, well, I don't know. I was like stomped on by a big, scary, shadowy, flamey dude. How's that sound? It's like, whatever. So for 2012. So yeah, that was what, 9 years ago. There might be a couple of other. Is that the one with the? What's the one with the two birds? There was a bird, and they were both metal. Well, the whole thing was metal. Was that the Lilith one, or was there a different one? I know Kathy has painted, well, definitely more Malifaux stuff than I have, for sure. There's my indigo. It's gonna be another case of we'll just let this mix right here. There we are. Boom. No layers. Hashtag new layers. You don't need layers. You want layers? Acrylics are fine. That's what they do. That's how acrylics work. But here, no layers, right? No layers. I'm going to add just a smidge here, maybe of some lighter highlights and a few spots on our... Oh, actually, we never did change that color there. from the yellow to the white. So, okay, or the blue. That's better. Now, is there any particular so V is what was there a genre that you could classify the song as part of, or is it's just a song? Here, let's yeah, that's when I was trying to describe the oils to people at first, I felt bad by saying, well, you just have to set aside everything you've done with acrylics and think of these completely differently. I was trying not to do that because I mean that could be a little bit upsetting for some folks. So I said, well, just don't think about layers. You know, this doesn't need layers. Acrylics do layers really well, but you don't have to with the oils. You save time with the oils by not doing the layers. So I had to come up with a gentler way of expressing that. It's based on the Shadowrun group, so futuristic techno with some magic in there. So that means you're using a synthesized hurdy-gurdy, I think. That's techno. Yes. A synthesized hurdy-gurdy is definitely very techno. I'll never forget the first time I saw one of those. I had never heard of a hurdy-gurdy before, and I saw it being played, and I thought that was a pretty wild instrument. Of course, hammer dulcimers are really cool as well. I like those a lot. All right, so there's a little smidge of our cadmium in with the brilliant yellow pale. And we'll hit some of these guys here. Not all of them, just a couple. Yeah, a synth grenade. uh, I'm just, I can't even. I'm just trying to imagine what that would even sound like. But I'm sure somebody has done it somewhere. I'm sure at some point we've had ourselves a synthesized hurdy-gurdy. Yeah, a little bit of the cadmium scarlet here as we try to lighten up some of our some of these guys here. And this is that sort of reddish armor, not a radish. So Olive's going to be back in a bit. Well, we'll certainly be here. Now, there will be a point where we amscray for a few minutes to get some chow and do other things. Take on liquids and maybe deposit some liquids as well. That is likely on a, well, 10, 11-hour stream, of course. Just cause. Here, let's do the same thing on the other side here. Again, bringing in some of these. It's almost like a skin color here. A little bit of a skin color. So I think it would be fun to hit this one. I just realized, yeah, we have a little bit of a object source lighting here, and that's almost kind of scary. We would do a lot of indigo on this, and maybe even some perline black for things like the blade there too. And you could see how, again, no layers here, right? Because we just sort of brushed that on right over that pre-glaze, which has almost a greenish tint to it. That's why we don't need to have all of these layers of color, all this glazing kind of stuff, because the oils, they do that mixing for you. That's where your time saving comes in. You just have to be willing kind of let the oils do that sort of stuff. For some folk, well, I guess it also depends too, just how much maybe previous experience you had with the oils. And I know for some folks, they like to control everything, and sometimes with the oils, there's a little bit of, well, the oil is going to do some of the work. You're just going to sit back and hold that beer while the oil does the stuff. And I know that can be a little bit new for some folks, to say the least. I still haven't seen if that is metal inlay there. I'm going to see if I can find a different one here. I don't think it is. I don't think that is. So I'm not going to treat that as a metal inlay. I guess these are more of a gold. So, all right. Tukale, how are you doing? Nice to see you back. Well, happy Saturday and all that. And for folks for whom it is definitely Sunday, happy Sunday. Because there's certainly enough folks who are already at least an hour or so into their Sunday, maybe even almost 2 hours in. Go back over here. Oh, there we go. That's a little bit of our brown matter mixed with some of our terra rosa. We changed our color. We changed it to that blue. But now we need to, and I might actually let a little bit more of the cadmium scarlet work its way in here for some of these elements. Mr. Fattest Cat, how are you doing? Mr. Fattest Cat, wish you could have seen this on the big screen, because this was super fun last night. Whoa, that would have been very fun. But it won't. Hopefully, it won't be too long before this will be greeting you. Plinkles, right? The cousin of Prinkles, the murder kitty. So at some point, there will be a Prinkles the murder kitty for you. Well, Plinkles, not Prinkles, but Plinkles. Not to be confused. Prinkles does not like being confused for his cousin. And you know what? I'm going to keep going with some of the cadmium scarlet here. We'll let a little bit of the off-white yellow get mixed in there. Still like that as a dark. These might also come in and grab some of that cadmium scarlet here. There's a couple of these I might darken though. That's our, yeah, it's a little bit of our, not asphaltum. I almost said asphaltum. That is the brown matter instead. Thanks, Patik. I appreciate that. It's, boy, if you watch some of the, especially things like our Ostearch things here, and the kind of the standard joke is, well, I would have been happy with that just after the pre-glaze. Then we just brush on some lighter colors, and people will say, man, I would have been happy with that just after that. So there are several times, sometimes just a few minutes in, where people will say, yeah, that would have worked. I mean, I could have always done more, but that would have worked. We have Phoenix Miniature Art gracing us with a raid. Thank you so much, Phoenix Miniature Art.
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my gun.
And thank you so much for that follow. That's faux art. Hello, little hobbits. Showing them the meaning of haste. It's like, dude, man, got a big stick in my hand, kind of busy here.
Hello, little hobbits. Spark my gun.
And Piosto. Hello, little hobbits. It's like, You again? Where'd you get the funky hat? Oh, we're not out of Gandalfs yet. There's more Gandalfs yet. After 1 hour of minimal effort, yeah, it's oh, nano. I like the idea of the nano machines. Nano machines are that could be good because nano machines. Well, now you know why there's no sleep here. It's all just in nano machines. So, folks, be sure to give Phoenix Miniature Art a follow as we always do here to support all of our fellow streamer. And Phoenix, I know you just got done with your stream, so you don't have an Instagram post right here or right now. But if you got yourself some links or whatever to like work in progress things, feel free to throw those up in the chat. Or class, hey, nice to see you again. It's been a little while there. Hopefully all is well. So we have ourselves a whole bunch of things. We've got some 3D printed stuff we can work on. We've even got some orky
Hello,
things
little
like so.
hobbits. Spark my gun, John.
And we're gonna for Mealben. Boom! Look at this. Hello, little hobbits. Yes, another Gandalf. But of course, if there's any more, is Saruman gonna show up? It's like, I am so much cooler than that other dude. Hey, have you seen that ring? But of course, we know who has the ring right now. That is Alex the Cave Troll, who he swallowed it a couple of weeks ago, right? Because Boromir gave it to him, and he said hide it, and he's like, I don't have pockets, man. And everybody's still waiting on that ring. I'm glad that everything is well with you. So yes, there there might be puppet shows here, well, all the time. Not every so often, more like all the time. It just happens. It just happens. And there is a link. Go check that out. Phoenix Miniature Art. Go see what Phoenix was working on. Now, so Phoenix was at one of those streams where uh, it was very busy in the chat and it maybe cut down on the production, or were you able to kind of get both of those things? Lots of fun, active chat, but also get some things done. Because sometimes those can be a little bit, well, mutually exclusive, I guess. You never know. Here, oh, these have to be changed over. We're just gonna get some of our yellow in there, and then we'll take some kind of a glaze, probably Indian yellow, maybe, and umber, and hit those two. Ah, boy, V, wait till you get the, and of course, we have our one of our new characters. This is a get into the chopper. Seriously, get into the chopper. Ah, man. It's got it's done tonight. The miniature's nearly finished. 2 more streams, and you have yourself a finished miniature. Finished miniatures, always fun. Now here's a little fun mix that we've started using. Well, Indian yellow with anything is always pretty wild, but Indian yellow also mixed with the Van Dyke brown is very interesting. And here we're just gonna do it. What's it? Pin line wash. We'll just let that sit on there, and well, it's gonna do whatever it does. Change these things around a little bit. Let that get into his armor. And you notice we're not brushing that out. We're literally just tapping the brush to the figure. Does what it's going to do, right? Let's see, Landrest, how far are we into this? 1 hour, less than an hour and a half. Less than an hour. Oh, actually, you missed the other two Eowens that we painted Eowyn already, and I think we painted a Merry and a Pippin. That all just happened in the pre-glaze. Literally, the pre-glaze is so powerful, it just painted 2 figures. But we do have some fun stuff here. We've got some of our Haradrim. Of course, we still need to keep working on our Dunlendings. I also was hoping to be able to mess around with some of our Moria Khazad-dûm dwarves, and we've got, remember this one? Landris, you were there when we were basing this one. And see, maybe see if we get to this one right here. Yeah, Phoenix miniature art. Some people would say it's very psychotic, but this is fun. Uh, there's our film noir. We got plenty of values in here, but it'll be interesting when we bring this back. You can start to see, especially in the horse there. See if you can spot some of the color. Almost got a little bit of a purple. You can already see it. Oh, look, we're painting this in acrylics, but let's keep painting it in oils. So now it looks more like this. But now you can see that purple in there. You can see the difference between those reds and the cooler blues. So that's that little bit of a color temperature game that we always play, right? Let me see. So Petite, the two favorites, and they're almost, I would, not like 1 and 2, but almost like 1A and 1B. Well, that's going to be Bolt Action for sure. And Lord of the Rings, obviously, because we might have 1 or 2 armies. Ultimate or Olive said, love it when I paint in acrylics and it turns out in grayscale. Actually, Taxi, I've done some Kings of War stuff. We've definitely done some of that. But here, well, obviously, we also we do 40K stuff with the oils. But here's some. This is just a portion of some of our bolt action armies. This was my latest tournament army right there. That was the Fallschirmjägers. There was their display board. And let's see, there's early war Germans, early war French, early war British, early war Russians. That's a little bit later war right there. And we've done a bunch of bolt action battle reports. Here's a few scenes from those battle reports there. So this is our last one that we did. That was the Bridge to Nouvion. Of course, well, we even do some Cruel Sea stuff. And let's see, where is our, well, here's one of our Lord of the Rings boards that we're working on there. And then, of course, we've got, here's some of our armies. There's our Harad army that we're working on. And we love our cavalry here. And of course, oh, thanks, Red Heretic, sorry. Thank you so much for that follow. We'll get you your hello, little hobbits in just a second. We're just kind of taking a little tour of Middle Earth right here. And of course, we have our Army of the Dead, our Morgul Knights. Now, we have painted a whole bunch of Song of Ice and Fire stuff. I don't actually play that. Well, it's not really something I can play on my own. We have done a ton of that. And of course, here's some of our, here's our Easterlings. And let's see, we are also working on our Candish army. And of course, we've got our Witch King and our Moria army, which continues to expand, right? Where's our, here we go, our Dunlendings as well. And there's our Moria dragon. And there we go. And let's head on back to and of course, we've done a lot of sculpting here. So all of these were conversions. They were just regular Rohan riders, which courtesy of some green stuff and such. And you could watch the stream where all
Hello,
of these were
little
done.
hobbits. Spark my gun,
So thank you very much again, Red Heretic, for that follow. And Fast Gandalf says, hello, little hobbits. Spark my ganja. And thank you so much, Shish, for that follow. And we'll give you other Gandalf. Hello, little hobbits. Where's that Balrog? He's a sneaky little bugger. So it's just, well, let's see. So you just saw the Balrog, right? And some people would say that like a Balrog is the scariest thing that you're going to see in Moria. Now, maybe that dragon, maybe a cave troll. Well, you'd be wrong, because this is the scariest thing that lurks in Moria. And as that sign in the middle says, Jetez-moi. Oh, thanks, Taxi, for that follow. That says toss me. These are the mimes of Moria. Yes, they are French, and they are mimes. Top hats, chef's hats. Oh, look at that. Cute little berets and striped shirts, and even baguettes. Master chefs, for sure. Charles de Gaulle only has 2 stars, but look at his mustache. Look at his mustache. And of course, these guys thought they were the stars of the team, Francois and Pierre. As you can tell, with what's in Francois's hand, they weren't into the blocking or tackling. They liked a fine Pinot Noir, maybe a Chablis, something like that. This team was done back in 2006. There were no plastic goblin figures to work with. I had to basically had to take metal figures, hack those apart, and then do a lot of green stuff on them. Oh yeah, that's there. Let's see what we So Olive, I don't have someone actually did send me some just I think it was Union cavalry to try and do some French cavalry conversion. Now, of course, I know Warlord. Well, I know they're not plastic. I don't think they're ever going to be doing plastic bolt action cavalry. But this is the cavalry channel after all. Here we go. So we have painted up a ton of Song of Ice and Fire cavalry, but we love our Lord of the Rings cavalry. Which is why we've got some more to add to our Harad army right here. And we'll be doing that quite soon here. And of course, well, we have some of our other conversions right here that we've done. We've got our gambling conversion, and of course our Boromir conversion with the cloak. Resculpted the head, gave him the banner, and of course our Easterland chieftain, because we are not buying failcast. No failcast here. And for our new Candish army, these are actually from Fireforge. These are fantastic. Some horse archers right here. Actually, I have one of those that's already queued up. And oh, but wait, there's more. You thought that's all. That's not all. Because we also have our Riders of the Dead. Yeah, we took Army of the Dead, a plastic horse here, some Tomb King bits, and we made ourselves some Riders of the Dead. And there's still more. Oh, we're not done yet. So we have our Wolves of Isengard. And we also have our dwarves. Yes, our Iron Hills dwarves on goats. Let's see. So Olive, that's why I play bolt action, because I've taken the bad armies and won tournaments with them. And that's the other thing I like about Lord of the Rings as well. Games where there's auto lose, stuff like that is not a game that I just don't have time for that. Because as you can tell, we put a lot of effort into our terrain and that sort of thing. And that's what I love about bolt action. Because pretty much, well, and also too, the order dice mechanic, that kind of levels the playing field. You can have the best of the best of the best, but if the order dice are not in your favor, well, it don't matter, because you can't make the usual plans. Thanks, Olive. Yeah, the chariots, we've been converting a bunch of those. Let me see, I think we've got one here. Yeah. So there is a chariot conversion that we're doing for our Candish army. We've got to get 6 of those, so we'll be busy doing some more of those Candish chariots. We have also sculpted the Great Beast of Golgoroth. We sculpted a couple of eagles. So there's Snuffles. He is the saddest critter in all of Middle-earth. He is very sad. We sculpted him. Like I said, we did some eagles, and well, we also sculpted ourselves a little bit of an Eowyn bust right here. We painted that the very next day with our oils. I guess what I loved about Lord of the Rings is that the chariots were actually chariots, not like Tomb Kings, where, well, we won't talk about that. We'll leave that one alone. Oh my gosh. When dwarves move faster than chariots, that's when you know somebody might have done an army maybe incorrectly. But that's now, of course, too, bolt action is meant to be played well in eras, right? So you're not necessarily supposed to have Finland 1939 versus late war Russians or Germans or Americans or whatever. You're not supposed to have, it's really not designed for, say, those Fallschirmjägers to be fighting, well, in the Pacific against Japanese or Chindits or whatever. You could do that, obviously, and they do that in tournaments. Now, the tournaments that I like, they have theater selectors, so they will or a year, right? So it's 1944. I always my Lord of the Rings tournament that I did, I loved that because you had one evil army and one good army, and you played 3 games with each. So that was really fun. So Angry Hand, those dwarves must have been natural sprinters because they were certainly moving faster than my Tomb King chariots were. Yeah, that whole natural sprinter thing, I guess they weren't kidding. So yeah, I was really surprised in the movies that Gimli wasn't outrunning Legolas and Aragorn, getting so used to having circles run around me by dwarves, even though I had chariots and cavalry. Yeah, who would have thought an army that can only move its units by magic stuff might be somewhat impaired against an army that literally prevents all magic from being used? It's kind of like one of those things where after years of research and marketing and all this kind of stuff, a car gets put out on the market with no steering wheel. It's like, so nobody noticed there was no steering wheel. Huh. Over the 4 years or so of developing this vehicle, that for some reason doesn't have a steering wheel, but nobody noticed, huh? That's a little bit how the Tomb Kings went until they just went away and then they were gone. So Patik actually, if you go back a few weeks, maybe this was a month ago. Wow, I think this was already a month ago. So all of this cab stuff right here, that is, was it 10 millimeter scale, something like that. So yeah, pretty much the base on that well, looks like an A10 Warthog right there. That base is barely the size of Eomer's base, so that'll kind of tell you how small those are. Those little tanks, and we'll bring this back in a second here. So one of those tanks didn't even fill up this entire area here. That's how small that was, or those were anyway. And if you want to see how those were painted, you just have to just check out about a month ago one of our past sessions. And like we always say, everything here is saved as a highlight, which basically makes this a YouTube channel. Of course, no commercials, which is an extra bonus. At least I don't think they make you watch commercials for highlights. I could be wrong, but I don't think so. And it was pretty wild because people thought, well, there's no way those same techniques are going to work on something so tiny. And well, needless to say, they were able to observe otherwise, which is always fun. We've often called this the myth-busting channel. One of the entire reasons why we did the whole TMM with the oils thing is because more than once I heard someone say, well, oils are great for Namata, but you can't do TMM with oils. And I said, really? Really? And then we set about to show that actually oils are fantastic for TMM. They really are ideally suited for it, which again was very fun to show on stream as we got Bitron in the house. So Bitron, I wanted to get through Eomer here. Well, part of it is he does have an interesting color horse here. It's a very different than what we normally paint. But I just want to get him out of the way because if I'm going to do some of those test games, well, I just want to have him done because he's pretty much going to be an awful lot of Rohan armies, right? So we have all the other heroes. We even have down to Gamling. Now I don't have Hama, and who are some of the other heroes I don't have done yet? We'll just have to make some conversions for those. We have some figures set aside for it, that's for sure. Yeah, Bithron, the well, now I have to say that the throwing spear for Eomer can be pretty darn nasty. I mean, as much as I like the sword stuff, uh, a lot of the other stuff in the army is a little bit kind of based on throwing spear. So I thought this would be nice to have somebody who's basically a throwing spear hero to kind of go along with those guys and synergize. But between Eomer's his strength and his fight value and everything, him with the spear, and I think he still gets to use this in combat. Yeah, so even if he still gets to use that in combat. So that is awful nice. Bithron, those terrain pieces were really looking fantastic. So how tall is that? I think you said how tall overall that piece is going to end up being. That's going to be quite the tall piece, but obviously, like you say, it's in sections, so in theory, it could be used in multiple pieces. That's really cool. Here we'll maybe get a little bit more of our light down in a couple areas here, maybe even on some bits of this. This is some really unusual scale mail armor, that's for sure. But I think I want to hit a couple of lighter areas here. Yeah. So taxi, typical paint brands are going to be Winsor Newton. I don't want to say it's the majority. It might still be the majority. If not, it's close. But Williamsburg and Gamlin, those are the three oil paints that we use the most. So here's our Williamsburg there. Here's our Winsor Newton, and where's some Gamlin for this? So there we go. So those are the three brands that we're going to use the most: the Gamlin, Winsor Newton, and I almost said Egyptian Violet, and Williamsburg. The Williamsburg is definitely going to be much pricier, if not much pricier, at least pricier. The Winsor Newton and the Gamlin, those are really close in price. It will depend on the color, but those are pretty darn close when it comes to price. So it's about 5 inches tall for the building. Okay. Oh, that's right, because that's not for your. Oh, I thought that was for. Never mind. Sorry, I thought that was for something else. So taxi, especially on stream, it's really just going to always be oils. Now I just did. This is one of my latest. This is my latest tutorial video for the Patreon page right here. And it was actually painted mostly with the contrast paints, but not used the way GW use them. We actually combined the contrast paints with lighter opaque colors like this, and we essentially use them like oil paints because oil paints are very intensely pigmented colors, but they also have a tendency to be transparent or at least semi-transparent until you start adding the opaques. So when I'm doing my tutorial videos or sometimes with commission things where stuff just has to be dry, literally the next day or in a few hours, well, then I'll use the acrylics. But the oils are far more efficient. I get stuff done at least 70% faster with the oils than with the acrylics. It's not even a comparison. It's pretty hilarious. Let me see. So, oh, that was a dark sword miniature. Yeah, that's part of our Dark Sword pledge level on the Patreon page. We've done a lot of Dark Sword miniatures. Actually, this was a whole diorama series that I did. I think this was, what, 5 episodes long? Yeah, so 5 episodes long. We painted 9 miniatures. We constructed that whole diorama base there. So again, those are all Dark Sword miniatures, as are these. And each one of these represents a separate, basically 100-minute long tutorial. So that's 11 tutorials. There's 5 more for 16. There's a little TMM right there. See Jaime Lannister on the left. That was actually done in true metallic metals. That was another oil one. We've done 2 of these. So that was the summer version. We've done the winter version of the Owlbear family. We've done a lot of Dark Sword stuff here. Really enjoy Dark Sword miniatures. I actually, Taxi, somebody I think just told me yesterday about the watercolors essentially going with the, well, sort of doing their own contrast paint thing. You've got the Green Stuff World Intensity inks, which are supposed to kind of be like that. I know there's the Pro Acryl Transparents that are kind of supposed to be like contrast paints. Now, this was another thing, and we painted this up on stream here. So we basically did that with contrast paints. You've got Achillean green on there, Gorgruntifer, some Vulpes pink. Actually, the freehand was done with Leviathan blue. But again, we took those lighter or opaque colors and we mixed those with the contrast paints to obviously give them some opacity. So yeah, we don't, there is no slapping on of the contrast paints like GW wants you to do because, well, they want you to go through those 8-hour containers really quick, don't they? They want you slamming through those. Mo's Magic, how you doing? We're having some fun here, getting our Eomer ready to go. Yeah, we're going to be painting some of our Herodrum here because we haven't painted any of the Herodrum on stream. So that's going to be really fun. Let's see, the guy was figuring out the mixes and selling some cheap pre-runs for evaluation. So yeah, Taxi, I have not used the watercolors at all. I've seen the containers, but never used those. Typically, Reaper miniatures, that's going to be the acrylic paint that I'm going to use. But that's just becoming more and more rare because, well, oils did a Prussian blue and took over everything. Yeah, oils kind of Prussian blued the acrylics. And for folks that are new here that aren't familiar with the whole Prussian blue story, well, for me the lower right-hand corner, but for you the upper right-hand corner, there used to be 2 colors there. You used to have cerulean blue and phthalo blue over there until we tried Prussian blue and realized that it basically does the same thing that both of those do, only better. So all of a sudden there was no more phthalo blue to be found, to the consternation of some. Of course, I don't know if that was as devastating as the loss of Payne's Gray to Nessie. Nessie still mourns Payne's Gray. I think actually Nessie is doing a moment of silence for Payne's Gray. Let's see. So no shaking. Oh yeah, well, I absolutely hate all dropper bottles. They all clog. Every single one of them clog. Well, actually, that's not necessarily true. If they got oils in them, they're not going to clog. Yeah. So these are some of the pre-mixed oils that I made for myself. Valfera, does Williamsburg actually make one? I'm not sure if they do. Now, what is a Series 1? If their Payne's Gray is a Series 1, we might just have to try it to see if it's any better, because this is significantly different. that as much as we love the Gamlin Van Dyke Brown, I really like this. This is some neat stuff. So I don't know, because it really is. It's been fun on the horsey for sure. Now, of course, I saw Drax. It says no shaking. All I can think of is the containers of realistic water that as soon as we get those things, the first thing we do is write "do not shake" on there because you're not supposed to shake those containers of realistic water. And what's the first thing you do when you grab a paint container? You instinctively shake it. So yeah, we had this just literally write in gigantic letters as big as we could, "do not shake" on those paint containers. So Oliver Ghost, let's see, Vallejo, Reaper. Actually, the Vallejo one just split open. That's well, we haven't used Vallejo paint in years. Gosh, when's the last time I even used Vallejo paint? I couldn't tell you. All kidding aside, I don't even know when the last time I used that. It's been years. The Reaper ones, they clog all the time. Every single dropper bottle I've ever tried, they always just clog like crazy. Which is literally why some companies actually sell basically a push pin, like Reaper does, because all those containers just plug up. Let's see. So, boy, where the heck is can we find that Payne's Gray here? Oh, we found it. What do you got there? 29, 20. Oh, well, that's different. Holy smoke. Hey, now this is a shock. Why would Payne's Gray? It has Pigment Red 101. It has the same thing as Drex Fulton and Terra Rosa, but it went the burnt sienna route, sadly. Sadly. So Ultimate Olive, it is a very dark neutral brown, whereas Burnt Umber is almost very orange or yellowy. And then you've got things like, well, the Brown Matter, which is more of a red. So Van Dyke Brown is just very, very neutral. It's also very dark. And it works fantastic, especially if you mix Van Dyke Brown and Indigo together. You get a really rich dark. Van Dyke Brown and something like a Phthalo Green are going to make you a really nice dark green, almost like a sap green. So I really enjoy the heck out of Van Dyke Brown. And we got it right here, and so our lighter color is mixing with that Van Dyke Brown. But every time I do a brush stroke here, you can see it's picking up some of that darker color. I was counting on that because that means each of these strokes, it starts getting less and less with the white, and it starts to pick up more of that Van Dyke Brown. So again, Van Dyke Brown, a much more neutral color than most other browns. It's obviously we use it a lot for pre-glaze, but we use it for skin tones sometimes. So there's the Payne's Gray Violet, and then there's the Payne's Gray Series, also Series 2. Well, Series 2, that's probably going to be about maybe 10, $11 or something like that. Series 2, Williamsburg. Maybe not. Maybe $9 or, well, somewhere between 8 and $10, I would guess. So yeah, we have not used the watercolors. Again, with the acrylics, I only use those in very specific situations. The oils are just so much more relaxing. And especially on a stream where you have to be doing a million other things. Well, also too, just think of this. Okay, you're doing your painting. How many times have you said, "Oh my gosh, I better get this 10th miniature done because my paint is drying"? Or you're right in the middle of something and then the dog knocks over something, or the cat is doing something, or the kids are trying to set the house on fire, and you have to stop what you're doing, and by the time you come back, well, it's all dry. Let's see, if you only had 3 oils to pre-glaze with well, Ultimate Olive, you can't go wrong with indigo, Van Dyke Brown, and possibly umber, possibly burnt umber, because burnt umber would give you just a little bit of a warmth, and if you mix the burnt umber and something like the indigo together as a pre-glaze, you could actually get a little bit of a greenish tint. So that might be the most utilitarian trio right there. They also happen to be very inexpensive colors. So when we talk about these series here, that generally is going to let you know, okay, how expensive is that paint? So something like a Egyptian Violet, I believe, is Series 6, whereas the Payne's Gray we were talking about is Series 2. Something like a Yin Min Blue is going to be like Series 57. Pocket Gecko, how are you doing? Or Pocket Geeko, sorry. So Pocket, the wet palette is fine, but what's on the miniature is not. That's the key, is that if you're doing any kind of wet blending on your miniature and you get interrupted, well, there goes your wet blending. So that is the key thing about the oils. And also, too, I can just have this palette sit out here and not have to cover it for hours, days, whatever, and it could still be usable. So that is the nice thing. And the fact that I could, several hours from now, still be able to do all kinds of mixing and blending on this, even though it was initially painted hours ago. So, and that's something obviously that's not going to happen with the acrylics. So Patik, it's the oils actually, believe it or not, you can get much thinner with the oils than you can with acrylics because oil is thinner than water. Water has tension to it, which oil does not. And you can get so much thinner with the oils. That's why you can do things like the pin line glazes that we did here in these initial areas. That is a courtesy of the nice extra thin. Well, then we can do plenty of freehand designs, right? So it's really easy to do freehand with the oils because not only can you make it thinner, but you can change it, right? Because it's literally mixing wet into wet. And where is our, here's another one here. Again, they had lots of the freehand and such. So we did all of this wet into wet, which was nice and easy. So you can definitely go back and check out some of those past sessions. Ultimate or Olive, it is very much a race against time. That's why the oils are so mellow, because, well, and this is the other reason why you can get smaller or basically smaller results with the oils, because I could just let that brush sit there for an hour, 2 hours, whatever. That little tiny thing of paint is not drying. With acrylics, that would already be dry. This would be a dead brush right now. So you're not flailing around, right? Worried about that the acrylics are going to dry on your brush and all that kind of stuff. Let me see. But we do we do have a wet palette for our acrylics. Ironically enough, it's the exact same parchment paper, but instead of it being on obviously just a piece of cardboard, we actually stick that to well, we don't stick it to, but we put underneath that a little chamois sponge, and the whole contraption goes inside a Chinese food container, where the top is the bottom and the bottom is the top. And that's our wet palette, which I just find endlessly hilarious. Yep, well, now this of course, so just imagine this is usually the bottom, right, of a Chinese food container. So that the clear plastic top, that is where the chamois sponge will go. And I don't think I actually have any chamois sponges out here because when's the last time yeah, no chamois sponges to show you. I was using one on the table here yesterday, but it's just a chamois sponge soaked in water, and that goes underneath your right underneath your little parchment paper. And believe it or not, it lasts for quite a while. And if you use it regularly and just open it every so often, it doesn't get all nasty and moldy. But if it does, you throw it away because it was free. Uh, again, I wish I had what I was using yesterday around to show you. It's actually what is it? CHMOIS, I think it is. I think that's how it's actually spelled. I just get them off of Amazon. Essentially, they're just like super absorbent. You could use them for, let's say you got something leaks, like your refrigerator leaks or something like that. You can throw, or people use them for washing cars, I think, too, because they hold a ton of water, but they don't rot the way like a towel would. As Angry Ham likes to say, flailing is how Angry Ham paints. So again, with the oils, just a couple of things to keep in mind. Just less paint, right? And not layering things. Like here, you see I didn't just throw one step lighter. In fact, look at this. I just went several steps lighter because that's what Mr. Blending Brush is for. And we're just going to let all that mix together here. This is how we save time. This is how we don't have a metric ton of paint on the miniature. And all of those things, they kind of add up and make a difference. Back to this is our cadmium scarlet right here. Now some of the colors that we use, like the cadmium paints, those are going to be pricey. There are imitations and substitutes, but they're imitations and substitutes. You're not going to get the same results from those because you're not going to get the same result from a $5 paint that you get from a $20 paint. Usually. I mean, sometimes maybe I guess you do, but for the most part, with the oils, you kind of get what you pay for. Now, so I take taxi, we did that earlier. If there's something you don't like, let's say we don't like that light color there, I just wipe it away with a sponge. Now, of course, you could, yeah, if it's dry or whatever, well, then you just paint over it. No big deal. But yeah, if we didn't like that, we just take a makeup sponge and wipe it away. That's why there are no mistakes with oils, just makeup sponges. And I just did a little bit of a glaze over that to darken down that boot there because it's looking a little too light. Let's get a little bit of a horizon line on that. We're pretty close to it over there. And actually, I'm going to just wipe a little bit of that away. And now we're a little bit closer to what we wanted. So yeah, with the oil paints again, don't have to worry about mistakes. You don't like something, that makeup sponge comes along, completely removes the evidence. There is no evidence of the mistake. I'm going to try and get some more fur texture on here, if possible. Yep, there are no mistakes in oils, only makeup sponges. That's one of our Book of Wapple sayings right there. I think that's either in the chapters either in the 30s or the 40s or something like that. We actually have, well, technically I think we have about 56 chapters in the Book of Wapple. There's several, and we keep adding to it. We keep adding to it all the time. So again, if we have a situation where, let's say these spots are just too heavy, we can just take our blending brush and we kind of wipe those out. We can tone those down. That's the other thing you can't do with the acrylics either. You can't say, oh boy, I wish that highlight was a little less intense, or I wish that edge was a little less sharp. With the oils, you just take that blending brush and in about a second or two, you have completely wiped away that sharp edge of that highlight or whatever it was, and you're good to go. You're done. Well, Olive, actually, believe it or not, I forgot that back in the day I'd actually started doing stickers of the Book of Wapple. I think we did the first 2 chapters. Those were for conventions, which obviously those aren't going to be happening anytime soon. So we do have some here. We'll do a couple of bonus chapters right here, especially we'll start here from the beginning. That chapter 1, of course, is if a color goes somewhere, it must go everywhere. And that's where the pre-glaze comes in really handy. And of course, what did we start with? We started with craft brushes. We don't go right to the sables. We use the craft brushes. And of course, we got to decide, right? I've seen people literally just stare at a wall of colors and not paint a miniature because they couldn't decide what to do. And yeah, you got to jump on that boat. You have to jump on that boat. Now here we'll scroll on down to some of our more recent chapters here. There we go. And you notice the initial glazes are kind of on the wetter side, right? Well, what do we do on top of it? Basically a dry brush. So instead of wet on top of wet, or dry, well, dry on top of dry can work, but usually in opposites. And we'll be returning to these, but when in doubt, make your colors darker. I think you saw us doing that last night. And we've done that a couple of times here, right? We made this darker, we made this darker, because at a certain point, you've highlighted the thing to death. There's nowhere else to go. But we are hoping at a certain point to be able to make some merch. And I think that the easiest thing for me to be able to do would be some stickers with the Book of Wapple, because they're meant to be helpful for folks. They're just an easy thing to remember. Like, man, what was that about? Oh, yeah, yeah. There's more than just one type of contrast. And film noir has value because you could, I mean, just like we do film noir here, right? We take this and we kill the color. Well, you could just take photos of your miniatures. Every phone has an app. You kill the color, it's black and white, and then all of a sudden you get a whole different look at your miniature. Obviously, you don't have to be streaming and have the software to be able to do it. You could just take your phone camera and do that too. Oh, thanks, Petit. I appreciate that. Some of those, because well, I've been using oil paints for quite a long time. Yeah, we'll show you some 2D art in a little bit, but that's my training is 2D art, watercolors, oils, pastels, all that kind of stuff. And some of the sayings that I use in the Book of Wapple, they are stuff that I learned years and years ago. And then we add to it. We've added sculpting chapters now to the Book of Wapple. We've even added 3D printing chapters to the Book of Wapple. Essentially things like, wow, I wish I knew this before I started doing that. So you're getting a little bit of our, see, it's not just reflected light there, but it's also a little cooler, right? It's got some green in there. A little bit of 5 o'clock shadow thing going on. I'm also going to get some green in a couple of other places. Now here, again, by default, we had some green in that armor. See if we can throw maybe a little bit more in there. like this. And again, it'll mix with everything else that's already here. Same thing over here. Yeah. We're kind of thinking about what's being maybe reflected from the ground. And the other thing that the film noir will show, especially when we're doing something like the object source lighting, that's where you can really see the intensity and the color temperature. Those are just as important as lights and darks. And that's where you get things like, okay, even our Gandalf right here. You have all these cooler, grayer colors, which automatically makes these oranges look lighter and brighter than they actually are. Because that orange that's right there, that is not very bright. These cooler colors are actually brighter than that, but because it's such a warm color, it's such an intense, pure color that it looks almost as bright as this, even though it's nowhere near as bright as that. And, well, even here too, this is the same deal. We like using our Schmandorf here because I'll do a quick little exercise here. So pay kind of close
Hello,
attention to these
little
two things
hobbits.
together.
Spark my guns.
Time zone. Hello, little hobbits. Well, we'll greet you with Schmandorf here. Gandalf's much powerful and larger older brother, one of the blue wizards, I guess. So here, let's go into a little bit of film noir. And again, thank you so much for that follow. Hey, Dr. Danko. Dr. Danko wants to make a few custom bits like weapons for a squad. Actually, Dr. Danko, I would definitely go with the Sculpey or even epoxy sculpt because you can sand those to me a little bit easier and definitely carve. The Sculpey is way easier to carve. So Sculpey, can't go wrong with that. Now you don't see the blue anymore. His hat. Let's bring this back. And this is where again color intensity. This is a very intense color. These warm colors, technically, your eyes should be gravitated towards these. Your eyes gravitated towards this. Look at his hat. That blue is very pure and intense. All of these warmer colors are very grayed down, very not pure, not saturated. Your eye is drawn to saturated colors, even though they're cooler. So it kind of violates that whole warm colors come forward, cool colors recede. And that's, film noir shows you that those were all the same value, except the intensity. That's the key, is the intensity. So yeah, Dr. Danko, you could even with the Sculpey, and I've done this before, just like roll out some flat shapes or whatever, and then just kind of cut it and carve it once it's been baked. Boy, we haven't used Milliput in a long time. The epoxy sculpt basically took over. Well, we never really did use the Milliput. We always liked the epoxy sculpt from the start. Here's another, see, edge contrast. So we need to set an edge right over here. Boom, like so. And that was really easy to do with the oils. Again, one brush stroke because with the thinner as opposed to water. Also the fact that that little bit of tiny bit of paint on the end of the brush was not drying the entire time. Because I've talked to some folks, they stream with acrylics, and they'll say, yeah, I'm sitting there, I got this dot of paint sitting on the end of my brush. By the time it goes from the palette to the miniature, it's already dry. And if I look at the chat for 2 seconds, it's all dry, which don't have to worry about with the oils. Not at all. Well, I guess it is a Sunday morning for a whole bunch of folks. We are still pretty much into Saturday here. But happy Sunday morning. Let's see if it's 7:53 here. It's got to be up maybe 1:53 in the morning. So you paint a little bit on some tanks, and you built an Undead Storming Eternal. Oh, thanks 40K. So yeah, if you got yourself some links or whatever to some other stuff that you painted on Instagram and that, definitely pop those in the chat so people could see what you're doing. Boy, I'm going to get me a couple more. My darks in just a few places here, like so. And for all the new folks in here, Yes, we are working with oils as we always do here on stream. This we're painting this up 3.5 hours, not even 3.5 hours, and of course he was just primer. Eomer here, 3.5 hours ago, he was nothing but primer. We're gonna be working on some more horsies here. Well, heck, we might even get a chance to play with one of our Orc Commandos. We got some 3D printed miniatures we can be working on. We have a whole bunch of stuff, but I think I definitely want to try painting some of our Haradrim next, just because I'd love to try and paint one of these guys in oil. Well, actually, a whole bunch of them in oils. Ah, yes, well, it's the quick to the photo booth. It's off to the photo booth for 40K tank to rush over there and get some of those pictures. Oh, actually, yeah, Gray Wolf, those pictures really did look neat. It was interesting to see those with the black backgrounds, which I never get to see with my stuff. And I know you said, was it one of those just the basic Reaper photo set or whatever, little photo booth thing? Make this a little smidge lighter here, maybe. On it, maybe not. That was gonna be a little bit too light. Let's tone that down a little bit. Oh yeah, like Velfra was saying, for whom it is Sunday, happy Mother's Day and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'll do the same on this side. And looks like we actually have ourselves something that might be a little bit of gold right here. Only just noticed that now. I think we'll treat that as some metal too. The $10 folding light tint and a couple of backgrounds too. Well, that's really sweet, Grey Wolf. Uh, Boy, the photo backdrop stuff that we're using, it was what, from Folio or whatever, and it was one of the original Kickstarter campaigns from a long time ago. Thanks, Buffy. Appreciate that. So yeah, with our oils here, it just lets us do so many fun different things. Yeah, there's the wet into wet blending, all that kind of stuff, and the usual things that you think about oils, but it's actually way easier to do freehand with it. It's way easier to do all the kinds of object source lighting with it, right? I mean, our entire Moria army, and now we're doing our Moria Fellowship. It just makes it so easy to do all that. And there's Alex the Cave Troll. We did Boromir already. So, yeah. And of course, the luminosity of the oils is fantastic. Grey Wolf is going to see if we can post them up to Instagram and then shoot them on over here. Oh, you know what? I think we could stand for first, when in doubt, make it darker, right? So we're going to take our indigo here, and we're going to darken some of these guys. It's as much to try and set an edge here as it is anything else, because we can highlight these as much as we want. But if there's no dark to contrast with it, it just won't matter. I just remember years ago, it was one of our very first Adepticon classes that we taught. It was probably 2008 or something like that, and we could just tell the look on somebody's face. We said, clean up in aisle 7, and I went over there, and they just had that consternated look on their face, and he said, "Man, I'm using white." It was non-metallic metal on a sword or something like that, and he said, "Nothing's happening. I'm using white." And I said, "Hey, could you maybe give me a second here? Mind if I do something on the miniature?" And in about 2 seconds, I added some darker color on the opposite side of the sword blade, and all of a sudden there's all this contrast. And he went, "Oh, okay." And he was good to go from then after. And it was all about the contrast and that edge of that light versus dark, which he just didn't have. He had basically light versus very light. And when you have light versus very light, everybody loses. Yeah, everybody loses that one. Nobody wins in a light versus very light. That is all just losing. And here, well, let's maybe, yeah, I think even on the shield design here, this is also too, we try to avoid just going straight to white. It's one of those little cards you want to leave in your hand. Leave that card in your pocket as long as you can. Play it when you really need it instead of just, well, yeah, 2 minutes in, I'm already starting to make stuff white. That usually is going to lead to some problems. So Dave, it's the closest thing that you're going to get to something like the, again, this is odorless paint thinner, which is basically the same as the MIG ammo stuff. And because that's what it's actually designed for. That's I use that with the MIG ammo oil brushers and actually all of the MIG ammo oil products because they do not have any other type of thinner besides that one. So like I said, Dave, you just use the MIG ammo stuff. That was what I used for, actually I used it for years. I used that stuff for at least 3 years and a couple of months before I ever found out about the Mona Lisa stuff. So it's just fine. I've used it with my artist oils all the time. And obviously, it certainly works with the MIG ammo oils because that's pretty much what it's supposed to do. Now that I might not just do a glazy thing, but something that's got a little bit of green in it, perhaps. Glaze this up a little pin line wash a little bit there. Yeah, shipping anything internationally, right, Dave, it's a rough prospect. Basically, it's not something that I'm really going to do. Obviously, when it's some kind of a miniature thing for a company, usually they have like a DHL thing set up. That's about the only thing I would trust these days, that's for sure. And even here, there's just a smidge of this bluish gray that's even going to work its way here into this, well, what you would say is red leather armor, just like over here. Same thing, right? We got the greens in there. So Dave, actually, we don't really do too much. We do it maybe every so often, a little bit of a pin line wash kind of thing, but it's really more, well, dry in to dry in some ways. Now, here's a little comparison that we like to show. And actually, if you check out my most recent Instagram post and my most recent YouTube video, you'll see. So this is acrylics right here, using the brightest, most intense acrylic colors that I could find. That's even fluorescent orange right there. And then compared to the oils, which are just regular oil paints, look at these purples right here. It's kind of sad. Looking at this makes you kind of sad. And then you look at this and you go, holy smokes, my goodness. There is no comparison. And of course, if you look at again, the most recent Instagram posts that I did, you'll see side by side acrylics versus oils. Let's see. All right. Okay. Yeah. 40K tank. Definitely pop the link in there so that people can see it. And Terra Shard is just wishing for the motivation to sit down and paint. Now, Terra Shard, I guess it's. I know how all the different ways people get demotivated to paint, and that's something we try to kind of help folks with here is to sort of make the painting thing fun again. One of the ways to make the painting thing fun again is to actually, yeah, maybe do some different things. Maybe if you've got this really long army project going on, maybe to skip on the army project and do a little something different to kind of get your just the enjoyment back a little bit so it's not as much of a grind necessarily. So, yep, Dave, again, for someone like me who needs maximum efficiency, the oils are a must-have anyway, but they are more durable. Well, look at this. I think you were here yesterday when we were painting this, right? I think you were here when we were making this. So this is that, all of this is literally just pink foam, right? And all of this was painted with oils. The entire thing, no washes or anything like that. It was just painted like it was a regular miniature. This entire building, and it just took a few hours, and it was all done. And of course, you can do it on even larger things because this is definitely bigger than that building. This will give you an idea. Just hey, where's the old guy? The one with the ganja? Seriously, you're doing this again. You're gonna bother all the nice people out there asking for the old guy who smells really bad. Yeah, I know he smells bad, but he's got ganja. So we painted all of this in oils probably a couple of months ago on one of our streams. Del Lake's Terror Shard. And of course, that's all part of our Isengard slash Dunlending army here. So these are Wolves of Isengard. These are Dunlendings. And actually, if you look here, so that's actually a flaming landscape right there. Thank you very much, Grey Wolf Studios. Wow, we could really use some of that. We really could. Thank you very much. That is appreciated. And of course, last Saturday, this is one of the figures that we were painting. And we did, again, start to finish in oils. Even all of the scrolly work here on the cloak, layers and layers of that. And it just, all of this made it so easy with the oils. And of course, we were, again, painting our Alex the Cave Troll. We were painting our Gandalf over here. Where's our Boromir that we were painting? Yeah, we were painting our Boromir right here. So having lots of fun with that. Terror Shard, I have not painted any of the Conquest stuff. Actually, Kathy's podcast crew sent them, or sent her, I think it was some of the cavalry. Uh, and it's funny because Dee Marino and I are always joking about that. It's like 40 millimeter scale, but it's like 60 millimeter scale. It is huge, which would be kind of fun, right? Some large scale stuff with the oils. Now, but I haven't painted any of that yet. It would be fun. Actually, those cavalry guys kind of appealed to me there. You recommend acrylic brushes? Dave, I use all the same stuff, literally. These are all the same exact brushes that I use for acrylics because well, let's see, it's 8:07 at night here. As of 4:40 this morning, I was using these with acrylics. These very same brushes. Nothing is different. The brush cleaner is the same even. So for dried acrylic and for oil color. And even the anti-shine is exactly the same. It's the Army, there it is, Army Painter Anti-Shine. Pretty much the only difference is that it's, obviously it's the oil paints. And then of course, you're thinner like this, but everything else is the same. Terror Shard, they do not take an eternity to dry. Usually for me, this will be dry 12, maybe 14 hours max, because there's no cadmiums on here or anything like that, so this will dry very quickly. If you're doing an oil painting, then it will take forever to dry, but you're doing a tiny little miniature right here, and you're using infinitesimally small amounts of paint. As an example here, this is that's the kind of paint that we're using. That much paint. That is not good. There's paint on here on the palette. Yeah, this is dry already. So this paint has only been sitting here for maybe 3 hours. That paint is bone dry. Look at this. Can't move it. Can't do nothing with it. And that might not even be 3 hours ago. Hey, Bone Torch, how are you doing? Tavistian, it works on everything. I use it for sable brushes. The few sable brushes we have, I use it for synthetics all the time. And again, it is for acrylic and oils. Kathy's been using this for acrylic paints for months and months and months. And it's funny, Dave. We don't recommend any brush licking, whether it's acrylics or whatever, because that will, well, it will mess up your brushes. It will definitely do that. I know, was it Privateer Press was all about licking paints or licking brushes or whatever? we had that beaten out of us very early. It's like you paid $20, $30 for that brush, and you're going to basically put that in your digestive system. We'll just take that away from you, because that's what happened. You were told very early on, brushes remain outside the face. Terror Shard, it's like anything else. I've said people that started painting miniatures with oils, and they absolutely loved it. It will, if you're new to miniatures, well, in some ways, now you don't have to try and kind of set aside some of the acrylic habits and learn the oils. So there's that too. It's just kind of like, well, okay, if you start out playing the piano and now you're going to play a flute, yeah, the notes are the same, but your fingers are going to be doing some dramatically different things. And it's for the folks that have been using acrylics for a while, sometimes they just have more trouble adapting because it's really hard for them to set aside the notion of layers of paint, the typical kind of glazing, and of course acrylics just by their very nature force you to put tons of paint and liquid on the brush, and that is hard for some folks to kind of let go of. So I think we're all caught up. So Bone Torch, I hope that you are doing well. And yeah, we do. Well, these are the three primary brands that that we always use here. So Williamsburg. Now this is going to be the pricier paint. These two are pretty much the same when it comes to prices, and I mean these are really good too. There is a difference with these. There is definitely a qualitative difference with the Williamsburg. Yep, Terra Shard, there is definitely no layering. So as an example, let's see if I can find an example for you here. All right, we'll grab something here that's lighter. Yeah, so we're just going to go blank like that. So see that lighter color we just threw on there? Got a brush here that has no paint on it whatsoever. And we're just going to stipple this along, and we're going to move this right around here. Going to do the same on this side here. Like so. Here, let's move that. Look at it. See how we're just taking that paint and we've just moved it all along this. So instead of a bunch of layers of paint, we just blam. We just dropped one lighter color and then we moved it right along. Once we can, this becomes your palette. That's why you don't see a whole lot of mixing going on over here. This is where the mixing happens. This is why the oils don't take as long. This is also why you don't have a 10 metric tons of oil paint sitting on here, because you're just putting a little dot on there and then you move it like so.